All right. Hello, everybody. First podcast. We're getting her going. Going to be talking some MMA with you guys today. Don't know what to call this show yet. We're just getting going. We're just freeballing it. That's how I like to roll anyway. All right. So we're going to be talking MMA today. Some UFC. All of it. Everything happening. Lots of stuff to talk about this week. So let's get into it. First thing we got to talk about Israel Adesanya. What a guy. We'll start from the beginning, I suppose. Coming into it, I was all for Israel Adesanya, but I actually thought, if I'm not much of a betting man, don't do it very often, but I don't, I came into it thinking that if I were putting money on it, the safer bet to me was Robert Whittaker, just with what we've seen. I think his resume up to this point was a little bit better. But my heart was with Izzy. I just, I feel him and everything he brings to the game is, almost McGregor-esque. Everybody's been trying to make the comparison. I think they're a lot different because I think he's actually a respectful person, even though he does talk some shit. He's never going to the level near where McGregor has gone, and McGregor just continues to ruin his own name. So Israel, I think, has a really big opportunity, especially with this win. So the moment he knocked him down in the first round, I was screaming. I was having a great time. It was crazy. Wow. I don't think we saw Robert Whittaker's best performance, but, I think there was a little bit of that emotional jitters, if you will, not necessarily nervous, because he's one of those guys that's never nervous for the fight, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think, wanting to win that bad in front of your home, like you feel like you have to get this done. I think it kind of clogs your head up, and, he didn't necessarily come in with the right game plan, or he just wasn't able to get that game plan enacted. And really, I'd like to just – it's all about Israel and how he was able to nullify what Robert was good at and keep that distance, even though I think, honestly, thinking back on the fight, that Israel had the better – like his best shots were actually close in when they kept colliding. Like their hips would just – they'd collide hips. Israel would just be leaning back, and he's hitting these hooks. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't watched the fight more than the one time, but I'd like to think that both times he knocked him down, right there at the end of the first round and then the knockout. I'm pretty sure both were in that same kind of scenario, not in the clinch, but in clinch range, where they're pretty much toe-to-toe, because Robert was doing a lot of just jumping in, throwing some crazy combos. It was almost like TJ Dillashaw or Cody Garbrandt, one of these guys just coming up with crazy combos that, it's a bit, even Yoel Romero-esque only, almost, how he's just inside, just throwing bombs. And when he's not, he's kind of keeping the range, which was kind of weird. It kind of felt like Robert was still the one initiating. I guess we kind of knew that had to happen. I don't know, man. Incredible fight. They both did decent. I still don't think, I've obviously those two Romero fights, I think we saw a way better Whittaker and a much tougher one. I don't know. I'd like to think he took harder shots against Romero and managed to make it through. But, that just comes down to the technique of Israel. And anyways, I think I'm done talking about that fight. Incredible fight. Izzy, I think we got a star in our hands. I'm not going to talk too much more about the McNugget guy, all right? I'm a Tony stan. Let y'all know right now, Tony's coming for Khabib. We're going to talk about that maybe in a little bit, but not right now. Okay. Rest of the 243. Dan Hooker. Man, I don't even know what to think about this guy. He's out here calling out all these top 5 opponents. I'm pretty sure everybody's already booked, and McGregor, who knows what the fuck he's doing, dude. But, man, I mean, I think it's better, honestly, for the UFC that he came out of it as opposed to Iaquinta. I mean, you know, I don't ever see Iaquinta breaking through to get to a title. I think he's another guy similar to Cerrone who has a certain style that is, maybe a little too reckless, you know, and those guys at the top are just not playing games. Khabib is never going to, you know, we've seen him take rounds off, but that's normally because he already took you down for 2 rounds and destroyed you. So it's like Hooker, to me, him winning this is a big deal because he is a guy similar to Dustin Poirier with a striking game that I think can take him to elite status, and him versus Poirier, even though Poirier doesn't seem to want that fight, would be incredible. And I just think that, you know, also Al always brings a good fight. He's always an exciting fighter, but I also think Hooker is too. So I don't think that, you know, what the reasons for Iaquinta to be thrust into that spot, you know, is kind of also there for Dan Hooker. So I think there's just a little bit extra benefit for Hooker, you know what I'm saying? And he's also another market, which we've seen now twice, bringing in the big attendance records, you know. So I think, you know, for the UFC overall, there's a bunch of different reasons why Dan Hooker winning is good. And I like the guy. He always fights exciting, brings the knockouts. I don't know. Dude, some of these guys just have absolute stone in their hands. It's incredible. He's one of them. All right, we're going to keep moving. Tai Tuivasa. Oh, man. I love the guy. I'm sure many of you love the guy because it's hard not to. Those guys are crazy. The Australians taking chugs out of shoes. You could never get me to do it. I love beer, but not that much. All right. Spivak, is that the guy who beat him, man? I think that's his name. Man, he looked pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. He looked pretty good. A lot of the throws I don't think many people in that division would deal with. But he didn't look that big for the division, and I don't see him, you know, in that elite conversation just yet. But, man, Tai Tuivasa, it is just it makes me sad. It makes me sad because he's an exciting guy. He's great on the mic, you know. The I'm a sucker for accents. Anybody with an accent, you're just the coolest person in my book immediately. But, you know, it's definitely sucks, and the less exciting prospect for heavyweight is definitely losing out here. But, you know, heavyweight has a little bit of spice still in it because we've got Francis up top there. I think JDS has a fun fight coming up. Is that the Corey Anderson fight? I don't know. There's some exciting stuff going on at the top, and obviously DC Stipe 3 is rumored to be on the way. So I think heavyweight is fine without that, and you know, obviously they could, if they really wanted to, Tai Tuivasa after one more win could be headlining these free ESPN Plus cards in his hometown or something. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but I was definitely sad to see Tai lose, even though I had told some friends to throw some money on the underdog because I had a feeling. But I'm not going to brag about my picks because nobody will believe me because it's not out there written in the world. All right, we're going to go. Oh, my gosh. I can't wait to talk about this. Israel's walkout. The walkout. Where do I start with this thing? Overall, I like it because I like, hopefully, that this will trend for other people to be more creative with their walkouts. I'm not saying everybody should do a dance routine, specifically not this one, because I actually did think the 3 other guys dancing were kind of like, meh, you know. I don't know much of that dancing style or whatever it was. It didn't. What I would have liked to seen is something traditional from New Zealand, Australia, wherever Israel says he's from there, bring it to his people. That Haka thing I seen a week before the fight when he arrived, they were doing that thing for him, and he said it gave him chills. Why not have a crew out there to do that right in front of, you know what I'm saying? So, oh man, I like the idea. The execution I don't think was good, although those were his boys. So I do also I like that part of it. So a lot of it I do like. Just the execution, I guess, wasn't the greatest. Israel did a good job, though, I thought. The one-handed cartwheel, if you want to call it a flip, I don't know, whatever. It was pretty cool overall. Next up, the attendance record. Wow, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say it's really not that big of a deal, I don't think. The big deal is the money, right? Like, we got to come in bringing more money than ever, not just the most people, because I think they can just hand out tickets or, hey, it's the day of the fights. We have 100,000 tickets left. We really want to sell. Here's them for $1, It doesn't mean much when you get that many people, especially when I think it was only a couple thousand more than the last time they were in that exact same stadium. And this felt like it should have been smashing the record, with two guys representing, Israel partly, Robert wholeheartedly. Everybody knows that's Australia's champion, or was. So it's like, coming into this, it felt huge. I literally, we had friends over, but they were thinking about going out to watch the fights, and I was like, I wasn't wanting to go out and drink and spend money on that. I was like, dude, I'm trying to watch them at home, because I know I'm about to be just going crazy at this main event. And I was like, I'm going to pay $60 myself if I have to watch this alone. I don't give a shit, And to see it only barely squeak past the record, and it's just because they're giving out cheap tickets. I mean, it almost felt like it could have been bigger. But I will say, this isn't even on my notes, but this just made me think of the new graphics that they're using, like for the introductions, the tail of the tape, when it's like panning the 3D graphics into the, oh my gosh. Oh, man. Incredible. It looks great. I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know what to, classify that under. But, wow, that was really, really cool stuff. And I'm glad to see that ESPN is finally bringing that extra level of production value that we thought would come with this deal. So, all right, next is the middleweight overall overlook, I guess you could call it. Is middleweight the best division in the UFC right now? And as far as just prospects, the amount of fighters that we're excited to watch, I don't think it's the best division. I still think that's lightweight. But as far as the last year of what the fights we have been given, I think middleweight is easily the number one right now. I mean, that Izzy Gastelum fight was absolutely crazy. We got Costa Romero finally, and Costa won that, which I did not expect, although he was undefeated, remains undefeated. I thought that had been a big step up for him, but he managed it. And I mean, this Robert Izzy fight delivered. I just think that the fights we've seen this year, 2019, middleweight has been the most exciting. And sadly, this 170 division is actually really, really chock full of stuff. And it seems like we're just blue balling ourselves with 170 right now, because Kamaru doesn't know what the fuck he wants to do, and they can't come to the conclusion. I don't know, maybe or maybe not the fucking fight's official with him and Colby, but I'm pretty sure if it is, it's next year sometime. It's not even 2019, so what are we doing with that division? Maybe it is the last one of this year, but, that division's been a little bit stale since Kamaru took over, and even before that with Woodley, let's be honest. So when the champion is not defending actively enough, and we've had a little bit of that same problem with Habib, although he has, to me, a little bit better excuses. Obviously, he had the suspension because of the McGregor incident. we'll leave it at that. But yeah, middleweight right now, absolutely fire. I can't wait for Costa Izzy. That sounds dope. Izzy, okay. Now next is going to be the Jones versus Izzy talk. And I am not a fan. I will tell you right now, we have got to stop talking about Jones versus Izzy. I'm telling you, I don't care if it happens soon, if it happens in a couple years. I don't care when it happens. Jones could be 50. Jones will win that fight. Izzy does not have the reach advantage. He does not have the beef strength advantage. And Jones has 3 times the advantage in wrestling, clinching, whatever you want to call it. He will get a hold of Israel. He will take him down and beat the living shit out of him. And I don't want to see that. And I promise you guys don't either. So, I think it's about time to wrap that one up. Fuck off with the Jones-Izzy talk. That's how I'm feeling. All right. Next, what is next for Robert Whittaker? This is a tough one, man. He says he'll be back, but he's the king of long layoffs. The king of getting injured fight week. I hate to say it. But, I mean, how confident are we he'll be back anytime soon? I'm not confident at all. But, you know, he's still a big player in that division. A lot of people, I think, see him coming back quickly for this for another fight and want to see him get another rematch with Izzy. And I think that's fairly likely, although I don't think we should rule off Paulo Costa being the champion again, or, you know, whenever they fight. Because, you know, the kind of fight Izzy wants is a similar fight to the one Costa wants, and Costa's freaking huge. I mean, although USADA is a thing, I think there's still a chance he's doing some sort of something. I mean, if people just look like that naturally, I got a really shit into the stick, I'll tell you what. But anyways, for Robert Whittaker, you know, there's some interesting matchups out there. You know, that Cannonier maybe, or, you know, not necessarily the... I think he's got to face somebody similar to Cannonier in the fact that they're like a fight or two away from getting that title shot. Like, we know, everybody knows Costa's next, right? Like, there's nobody else out there. Romero would be cool, but he's coming off of the Costa loss, the 2 Whittaker losses, right? So, I mean, he needs to kind of reestablish himself. I don't think he'll be going anywhere, but it has to be kind of, you know, for Rob, has to be somewhere in that range. And people are talking about the Romero rematch, 3rd trilogy, whatever. I don't really have much appetite for that. They were great fights, don't get me wrong. Like, I would love to watch that fight again. Like, if they actually ended up doing it, I'll watch it. But I don't think that's a fight that really has much merit for either guy. Because if Rob wins, you're just like, well, yeah, he won the first 2 ones. Even though there's some controversy with I think especially the second one. But Romero couldn't come on weight, so what do you know, I hate having those discussions. A win's a win. We're just going to, you know, count it. But yeah, so for Rob, we'll just leave it at that. Cannonier, somebody in there. But yeah, middleweight's still looking good. He'll be all right. I think he'll be back to a title fight here in a couple fights. So, all right, we gotta start hopping into this Joanna versus Watterson card. And before we can even hop into the card, talk about fights, we gotta talk about some bullshit. Yeah, bullshit. Nobody wants to be talking about Joanna not making weight. Anybody not making weight. Nobody wants to fucking talk about this anymore. Like, this has been such an annoying debate for so long about weight cutting, and California seems to be the only people, commissions, whatever, that wants to seem to actually put action into fixing this problem. Like, If the only reason why people still cut weight is because they know other people can and will certainly do it to get as slight an advantage as they can. Everybody will do it if it's allowed. So I don't see why the commissions don't take a little bit of a stand and really make these fighters have this under control. Because, they could do it to where most of the people still cutting weight are still able to, but if they put it to a point where it's less likely that they'll ever get in the situation to, not make it, we need to set the guidelines or the standards where they have to be in a position 2 weeks out where they are, 100% guaranteed going to make that weight. Because I'm hearing that Joanna last fucking week was saying, oh, there's a good chance I'm not going to be on weight. And if you're a week and a half out from the fight and she's saying this, well then, why can't the commission be testing everyone then? And if the knowledge is out there to know whether or not it's going to happen, like, they have to be on top of this better is what it's coming down to. And I think it comes from the legislation, the government, the commissions. California's done some things, but more people need to take action. But the problem is we've obviously seen these commissions don't give a fuck about working together and having a unified rule set, all of that. Like, there's still 3 different rule sets out there. Jones, I think, is the most recent fight I can remember where, we had he did a strike, which would be legal in this state, but isn't legal in this state. And I'm not trying to fucking give no excuses for Jones. Everybody, he doesn't get no more, excuses. He's, not free from criticism there. But I'm saying for them to have to know 3 different rule sets and be absolutely clear every single time in the heat of the moment in a fight, you're telling me that they have to go through every single rule of what strike they can and can't do depending on where they're at. I don't like it. They need to get more unified and there needs to be one head fucking commission making the moves here. We're a fucking country for a reason. I get it when it's out of country. They can do their own thing. That's allowed. That's part of breaking into new markets. But here in the United States, we need to figure it out and not have 80 different fucking combinations of rules, dude. All right. On this Joanna Waterson topic, I suppose. Excuse me. I really like the fight. If the fight ends up happening, it doesn't look great right now. The most recent news I've gotten is that Joanna is attempting to still make the weight. So we'll see. But it doesn't seem like Waterson wants anything other than her to make weight and then fight there. So Waterson is kind of shit out of luck, I suppose, if she doesn't make it. But this is a big fight to lose if we end up losing this, because Weili Zhang is sitting there after a giant win in China to take the belt from Andrade, and now we're seeing, Suarez has been out for a while, and I don't think there's any timetable necessarily on when she's going to be back from her injury, and a lot of people, or at least what I've seen the majority of, is that it's something that's not necessarily going to go away. So there's a lot of concern there for my part. And I think, Suarez could certainly be a contender. That being a complete unknown at the moment, this Joanna versus Waterson fight was like what we needed. For that division, we needed these two to fight to have a contender to throw at Zhang, because now, assume for some, I doubt this will happen, but assuming somehow neither Waterson or Joanna fight, we don't really have anybody for Zhang right now, and after this much of a layoff, I don't know that Suarez can walk into that fight if she gets healthy right away without another fight to, spice that up, make us feel like she's the deserving of that shot. So, I don't know. That's been an exciting division lately with Rose getting taken out and then Andrade getting taken out. I think personally that the more the belt changes hands, the more exciting the division is. We want to have as close of competition as possible. We want, although Khabib is great and it's cool to watch him continue to just dominate. It's not even close with anyone else. But in a division where you feel like any of the top 5 or top 10 maybe even, you feel like any of them could come and actually have a good chance to beat the champion, that's what I think a healthy, fun, exciting division is. And obviously with middleweight, that debate with Costa still undefeated, Robert just got beat by Izzy. There's some really exciting matchups and things that we could do in that division, whereas Khabib, you look at that entire top 10 lightweight and you're like, there's one guy I think has a chance, but has a chance is the best thing that I can come up with because he's just that much better than everybody. It almost, takes a little bit of fun out of it. Maybe I'm somewhat alone on that, but you guys can tell me that if you're feeling it. All right, speaking of Khabib here, we all know Tony's got to be the fight. It's got to be the fight, dude. If you're thinking there's another fight for Khabib right now other than Tony, you're casual. You're casual. Fuck GSP. That's not an interesting fight. It's not. Unless they move it up to 170, 65, somewhere up there. I don't think we're going to see much of a GSP down at 155. And I know whoever wants the fight's going to be like, well, he beat the Bisping. He beat the Bisping, dude. I don't care that he beat Bisping. That's up a weight class, not down a weight class. GSP's freaking huge, man. And if he's skinning it, coming down to skinny, he looked terrible, like too skinny in the picture I seen him most recently in. So, I don't know, man. A lot of people are seemingly interested in that fight, and your boy is not. I'm sorry. So, anyways, Khabib Tony, it's got to happen, and we haven't gotten the announcement. And I think the further it goes on, at least for me, the more I get a little bit worried that we're, heading in a direction of something other than that. Because I might be alone here, and a lot of times I am, but I don't give a shit. If we get McGregor Khabib again, I'm going to be upset. I love watching Conor fight. He always brings the excitement before the fight, in the fight, whatever. But we know how that's going to go, right? Nobody actually fully believes that McGregor was compromised enough to change that fight. I think he still chokes him out no matter what. And, Tony at the moment, to me, is the only one that poses threats to Khabib matchup-wise, because I think Tony, from his back, likes to throw elbows, likes to throw submission attempts. He's just unorthodox. And Khabib is obviously very one-dimensional most of the time. And I think that, with Khabib having advantages in a lot of different areas outside of just what Khabib does well, can help him win the game, win the fight. So, to me, that's got to be the fight. I also just saw something today that Khabib is wanting to fight, but not until March or April, and I wanted to fucking vomit on the site. He's the champ. He gets to fucking call the shots, do whatever he wants, but man, fight already. You are in the most deep division, and I realize you just beat Dustin Poirier, but that's not the fucking fight everybody wanted. So get your ass back on the horse quickly and let's get the fight we all want. I mean, seriously, it's going to be 7-8 months between his fights. Like, come on, dude. This, like, the UFC can't be happy with that. I'd be, I don't know. I was going to say I'd be shocked if the UFC don't go with an interim title again with Tony, but Tony's clearly shown that he doesn't want to do an interim title. Otherwise, he would have just taken that Max fight and easily won another interim belt. But whatever, dude. All right, we're coming to the last thing. We're at about a half an hour right now. I'm trying to wrap her up here. So we're going to do the picks for the main event, not just the main event, the main card for this Saturday's fights. I'm trying to figure out where this is at. AKMMA Arena. Where is this? Where is this at? Tampa. UFC Tampa. Son of a bitch, I just lost the fights that I wanted. Hold on, folks. Obviously, Michelle versus Joanna's the first fight. If it happens, which is a big if at the moment. Let's see. Okay, we found it. If it happens, that's going to be an exciting fight. I think they both want to stand up and fight. And, Joanna's obviously on the downtrend at the moment, but she's fought nothing but the elites, Rose twice, which I think she came in a little too cocky, and I don't think that's going to change, has changed. I think that's just her, and that'll probably cause her to lose some more fights. But I think she will win this one if her and Michelle do fight. I just don't see Michelle as an elite fighter at 115. She's not the biggest girl, and Joanna's not necessarily either, but I think Joanna has a lot crisper striking and cutting angles, all that. I'm not the most technical talker, but she just seems a little bit more impressive on the feet, so I think I'd give that to Joanna if they fight. Cub, Swanson, Crone, Gracie, Ice Cream Crone. Terrible nickname. I don't like it. Figure something else out. Crone can go with a lot of things, I'm sure. I mean, he's a Gracie, for God's sake. You just call him Gracie, dude. That last name means more than Ice Cream Cone. Anyways, I love Cub Swanson. Always brings good fights. Always exciting. Finishes or gets finished. One of the two. It's, what I'm saying? Like, I like those kind of fighters. I just, I'm a little bit of a filthy casual in that. I just want to see a brawl. In this fight, though, obviously Crone being a Gracie, and we've seen him elsewhere doing mainly jiu-jitsu, so this is going to be an interesting fight because I don't think Cub's terrible. We've seen him submitted before, but I don't think he's necessarily a bad jiu-jitsu player or wrestler. I think at least in the first round, Cub will have a good enough defense to keep Crone from tapping him out early. Although I do see eventually, I don't see 15 minutes going by and Crone not getting a hold of him. So I will give this to Crone by submission, but I don't think it's going to be first round. So let's go somewhere late second round, I guess. I don't know. Picking when it's going to happen is tough. It's just going to happen. He's going to get choked out. Cub is his best days are behind him, I believe. So, all right, Mike Davis versus Thomas Gifford. I'm not too. I'm gonna be honest, not too familiar on both of these guys here, but Thomas Gifford has a picture. Mike Davis does not. So I'm gonna go with the underdog, Mike Davis. That's literally all I got for you guys. Sorry. Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. Mackenzie Dern might be the hottest mom in the UFC. I'm just saying. And we got to ride with her. Yeah, I don't really know Amanda Ribas anyways. So we're just going to assume Mackenzie could use her jiu-jitsu and whatnot to get that done. Here's a good fight. Matt the Stame Rola Fravola. Great name. Ice Cream Crone. Take some lessons from Matt. I like it. It's a great fight. Violent Bob Ross has been one of my favorites for a while now. But I think both of them are looking for a nice stand-up, fun fight. And I don't know, maybe I think at some point Frivola's going to ground and pound him out. I don't know. That's just how I'm feeling about those two. So we'll go with the second round. TKO, ground and poundage. Eric Anders, ya boy, versus Gerald Meerschaert is the last one we're going with here. Meerschaert, I believe is his name. That sounds a little gross. 29-11, man. He's been around a minuto. Man, Eric Anders is only 12-4. He must have. There was at one point where Eric Anders was really looking like a contender, and he's lost a couple, low ranking, top 15-ish. He's lost those matchups where if he were to win, he'd be in that top 10, 15-ish range. And, I'm a big fan because he always brings good fights. He's always trying to slug it up. But he's not necessarily a guy that I have faith in being, an elite fighter ever, from what I've seen most recently especially. So I'm going to probably go with Gerald here. An experienced guy like that, I think, is going to take away the tools that Eric's good with and get it done. Probably a decision. All right, folks. Let me go back to the notes right quick. Make sure we don't got anything else. Yep. I think we got it all. All right, folks. I appreciate you listening. Let me know if you got questions for the next one. Probably going to do this weekly, so thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.